So good to see you, Esteban.
Welcome, everyone. Join us. Find a comfortable position now. We want to thank everyone for joining us. Find a comfy spot. Let us allow to bring in the presence now as we get ready for everyone to join with us. Sit and let the flow get in the zone. Let it flow in.
Feeling good, brother.
So now with everyone together, with the presence, bring your left arm, your left hand, bring it towards your chest. And Divine Spark to Divine Spark.
Divine Spark.
Esteban, you don't hear me yet, brother. Can you hear me, Jeremy?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, check 1, 2.
Hopefully once I turn down this music here, it'll be a little better. I'll move my mic a little closer. And hopefully the feed comes through. If Jeremy can hear me, he should be able to hear me. So check your connections. We're going to get very well connected today. So again, thank you, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Everyone that's taken their time out of their day to join us live, we really appreciate that. And everyone watching the future recordings, thank you. We're very grateful. We're going to have a lot of fun today. So sit tight, get comfy, and let's get started. So today, this is where we're going to have a reunion with our higher self, which is basically the enlightenment that we've been working towards throughout the 7 steps. So, but first, we wanted to share with everyone what we've covered so far. So, Jeremy, step 1, suffering, understanding and being aware of the fear. Maybe share with us a little bit more of what that step meant to everyone and meant to you as we went through that understanding.
Yeah, the fear, that suffering, that's our basic teacher. That's the cattle prod. That's what pushes us towards to where we need to go. You know, and it can look like anything. Suffering comes in all sorts of forms, shapes, and sizes. Relationships, how they went, betrayals, abandonment, you know. So when you have began to experience everything, there's only so much. And so when you've had your fill and you've seen all the suffering, you've seen everything on that side of the coin, it's time to flip that over. So then when you have that surrender, like I've had enough, I've seen it, I've done it. We're here to know both good and evil. Well, I've seen every single thing that I don't want. Now is time for me to go in a more positive direction and things that I do want. That's the surrender. That's when you're going upstream and you've seen it all. And you're like, I don't want your life. You throw the paddles over and then your boat turns. And then you start going downstream, and that's what leads us up to serenity. The step 3 is when you're going downstream and you know everything's taken care of. Even if you get close to a rock or you get really going fast or you hop a waterfall, you're still in this boat that is being divinely guided. And so then once you're able to have that serenity and then just that taste of peace, just for a moment, that's when you can start learning. That's when you can start hearing and listening. That's when you're able to be strong enough from the consistent happiness to actually start going and digging up some of that stuff that you weren't strong enough to deal with. Some of those traumas, some of those things, the suffering, some of those fears. You can't deal with fear when you're right there in fear. You have to be at a different level, and then we come back and deal with the fear in a loving way. And so that's what this step is all about. The self-love is we've been able to have a small break and have that peace. And now we're going and we're being happy anyways. That's the big lesson overall. And so once we can learn that, then we begin to start loving ourselves. That's when we begin. See, life is like, if you look at it like a cork floating in water. And if you're angry and mad and sad and you're just pushing it under, you're out of alignment. You're pinched off. You're going against the grain. You're going against the flow of the universe. Everything will not work. That's where we're coming from. Now when we're just like, all right, I surrender, I've done it my way, I'm out, the cork begins to float. Mm-hmm. So then once that cork is beginning to float, that's what gets you through these higher levels. Let's say now you're at a level 30. Now you can go back to level 1, 2, 3, etc. And now all those times that you got beat, now you win. Now you go from victim to victor. And then you can take everything that you missed out on the first side and the first time, and you trade your ashes in for beauty. And you're able to beat those big bosses, and you're able to get those treasures that you missed because you were too afraid to go down that dark corner the first time. Now you're able to. Now that feels good. Now that's building victory. Now that's building self-esteem, self-worth, self-respect, self-honor, self-love. And so when you have that self-love, that's what really breaks us free. That's what fills our cup up. Once we are able to love ourselves, then we can love others. And then that is where life begins. When you have that love, that's where you're no longer pinched off. That's where you can start to clear so that you can hear. And so once you get up, that is when you're now able to meet your higher and your true self. So congratulations, everybody, for getting this far.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that's amazing. Just a good reiteration of the cork analogy, suffering, pushing down. We're fighting against it almost, right? Pushing all that cork down, the surrendering, the letting go, the understanding of it all, the understanding that it's going to be all okay. Everything's going to work out. I don't have to be, controlled by all this fear. And through that letting go, you're letting go that cork and it's rising up. And the consistency of that brings you the serenity, the consistency of letting go to all these outside things around you and not letting them controlling you, not letting them become your reaction all the time. And you actually deciding to create and let go and be in peace with this. That's what staying in the presence is all about. Staying afloat and not being pushed back down by reality again once you go out there and try that out. So that's beautiful, brother. And moving ourselves into, once we have that consistent serenity, we're consistently floating, we're consistently letting go, we're consistently being okay with life, almost, just so to speak, right? That's what builds the connection to the higher self. That's what really builds the awareness, the understanding, the knowing, the faithfulness, the trusting, the almost like guided warrior's way of thinking. And so I'm going to pull out some slides here and we can touch on a little bit of what this step is all about and what it means and what it's going to mean going out throughout the rest of this month. Pull this guy up here. So, 7-step project to ultimate freedom and bliss. Step 4, self-love. So today, you guys, here's just a little rundown of what we're going to be going through today. Basically, just getting that description and explanation of what self-love is to everyone, going deep into that. And obviously, it's a very descriptive word to start off with, but we're going to start going into some of the other facets of it and how to really manifest more of that, and showing you the overflowing of abundance, how that ties into your connection to your higher self, the healing, giving you your learning gifts. And actually, we got a really special Serenity Project Dojo, basically project for everyone. Everyone going forward, we're going to share with you. It's something to help you guys master these skills and start creating more habitual nature with them. So step 4, you connected to the fourth chakra. Jeremy, if you'd like to chat with us a little bit more on how this connects so well to the self-love and how it's all intertwined to this energy, almost highway section in our body too, as well.
Well, this is the heart generator. Not only is it the energy system, but this is the heart generator. And so once you are able to overcome your fears, and then you begin to discipline and begin to get control over your mind, then you can have that peace. That's what breaks you through into this heart chakra, into this heart generator. And then with that love, that's what finally opens this one up and balances this. So that's what that full cup analogy is. This is where once you're able to love so much, then that's when you're able to give it to others. Because until you're able to love yourself, you have nothing to give. And so that's basically what the biggest part is when you're able to stop feeling so bad about yourself and you start building this relationship with your mind and your body. You can actually start having a relationship, and instead of it bucking you every time you want to do something, it actually listens, because it has to be done in love, not by force. That's where I was messing up, is I was like, body, you better mother freaking do what I say, or I'm going to make you suffer, etc. But then when I started saying, hey, I love you so much. Thank you for everything that you've been through. Thank you just for being so patient. Thank you for making me listen. Thank you for slowing me down and hurting me sometimes, and getting my attention. All this really relates to our inner child, is how are you talking to yourself, and what is the relationship with your own self? When you can have this physical body and love this vehicle, then that's when you can have that alignment and you can get into observer mode. And your higher self, which is your true you, is looking down, seeing everything perfect. And it's just like a little remote control car. And if you're in alignment, it drives where it needs to go. But if you're out of batteries and you're out in the bushes, then, you're not in that connection and you're not where you need to be. And then that hurts. And then you're like, life doesn't seem perfect. But then your higher self says, hey, come up here. And it actually is. And so then you have to meditate. And that's what we've been going through, is to get these meditations, to be able to control your mind and to be able to clear so that you can hear. And so when you have this love, that builds and builds and builds to where you can't take it anymore. And then you just have to give it away. When I was at this moment, this is how Llama Space Community was built, and the Serenity Project. I went from hating and hurting so much to having such an abundance of love and joy, I didn't know what to do with it all. And so I asked, what do I do with all this?
And before we even get to that step, because that's
Sure.
almost like what you do with the self-love after. And I wanted to almost show people that transition of, through the meditations, through going through the past steps that we've gone through, you've now opened up, you now made it easier for love to enter in, the energy of love to enter into your body. And so through the meditations, by doing good things for others and practicing more self-love routines, you're building that, and you eventually have this overflow. And at that moment, then you can move into using that overflow for different types of things. But I think even we could focus on just even a few moments for some practices of self-love. In the morning, a great practice that I use in the morning, we could just go around and do a little circle of what we do and why we enjoy it and stuff as well, right?
Sure.
And for me, myself, I wake up in the morning and I got a few things written on my mirror. And I used to have lots of different things written on my mirror. I used to do the whole personal development thing where I'm doing every single affirmation, but it's really just come down to a very simple affirmation. I love you, Brody. I approve of you, Brody. And I just repeat that 10 times. And so just even if the day goes crazy or something happens, or, just really, really goes wild, quote unquote, then at least I really tuned into that moment in the morning, and then continuing to tune into that throughout the day is the big practice with this now. every time something comes up again, reminding yourself that it's okay, that you love yourself, that things are going to be all right, that person's out there doing their best. And so it's providing the self-love for yourself and the love for others and the love for it all. It's this self-love for the whole entire process, and knowing that you got a handle on it now. You're moving through it, and you're spending the time cleansing away through meditations. You're spending the time working on yourself throughout this, and it's going to be okay. Like, this is a huge thing that I started, and Jeremy touched on a bit. I turned it into like a drill or a competition. Like, oh, I got to be down on the floor, meditation from this time to this time, and then over here, blah, blah, blah. But if you turn the thing into a practice of like you not enjoying it, well, then it's no longer self-love anymore. Like, now you're grinding and you're doing all this stuff to like make yourself be better, when you should just feel like, you should just know that through these practices I am better. That's the golden rule with this. There is no bad meditation. There really is no bad routine. There are routines that tend to start feeling better and better and better and better. And you tend to find those little niches or those little areas, but find something that brings you joy and consistently do that. That's a huge, another just big self-love practices. If you really enjoy painting or going for a walk or playing guitar or playing with your children or doing whatever those things, schedule it and make those like very priority times for you to go out. And like, that's the other side of like, you see a lot of it on the internet now, where what self-love, a way to get self-love is to maybe go buy a new car or go spend time at the spa or do all these other types of things. And like, but just know that you don't have to do all those things to experience self-love. You can do all these amazing gifts, most of the best things in life for free and everything like that, right? Go for a nice walk with a soccer ball with something to throw or something like that, something to just go for a nice walk. Or if you have a bicycle, grab the bicycle. And these are all just amazing things. Find some things that you really enjoy. And that's my hack into going into like bliss and flow and self-love mode. And Jeremy, I'm sure, has a plethora as well, and he'll share with you as well what he uses.
Well, Brody, just even a little bit before that, before I even knew what self-love, and when I just started suffering so much, I began to care about how I feel. And I remember it just so vividly, this one day at work, and I just was like, bro, why do you hate yourself? Why do you hate me so much? What have we ever done? What have I ever done? You do your best to take care of people. You have been through hard stuff and you've tried not to give up. I mean, so I really, the beginning of this step is really coming to grips and ask yourself that hard question. Why am I hating on myself so much? And that is what led me to all of this, is I tried to answer that question. And I was like, yeah, I've had some issues. Yeah, I've had some hard times. But but why am I making it worse on myself? What have I done to deserve all this? And then even if you have done things to deserve it, when are you gonna like finish punishing yourself? And that's the big thing. So ask yourself, why are you hating on yourself? Come to grips with that. Answer that. Deal with that. Sit with that. And so what I did, my self-love was, and you've heard me talk about it before, is when I got home from work, I was beat. I was done. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to be alive. Nothing. So I would hop into that bathtub, my redneck deprivation chamber, and I would go under, and I would try my best to find my higher self, and then to get closer to God and to stay there. I didn't know what else to do. I was lost, and I had all the religion and all the teachings, and I was still lost. I believed and loved God before all this, and I was still lost. There's deeper issues that are going on that we just kind of mask and forget and kind of cover. Well, now is time to really start. Now that we're strong enough and we're loving enough and we've been in peace enough, it's time to start answering those hard questions. It's time to start asking those hard questions. And so back to the question is, what did I do to self-love? Is I really, really monitored how I talk to myself. And when I'm like, come on, you stupid sorry. I love you. You're doing great. and then I just really built that self-love. Like I have another individual inside of me, almost my inner child. And so a big meditation I did to really deal with all these things is once I went through the energy doors and I was flying, it took a long time to fly. And so I had to do these things, these lessons in between. And one of them was I had to deal with my inner child. I had to deal with my rage, my disappointment. And so I was doing this one meditation, and I was like, God, I need some help. I don't know what to do with all this. I don't know how to do this. And so I envisioned this just super scary, like insane asylum. And it was like haunted and everything, almost like something you see on those ghost hunters. And you're like, I am not going in there, and that's what we're afraid of. I went in there. And so I went in, and it was dark and just as scary as you can imagine. Just imagine with me for a moment. And I go in, and I look to the side here, and I see this little child in a straitjacket shaking back and forth like this, all alone. And that was me. That's what I had done to myself. I said, shut up, get out of here. You can't feel that. You can't be like that. You're not good enough. Everybody else hates you and hurts you and hits you. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. And that's what I was conditioned. That's how I was treated. And so I went over there, and I kneeled, and I just cried with myself. And I said, I am so sorry. I did not mean to ever go this far and this dark and this deep, and I'm sorry. And he looked up, and then all of a sudden this hand came down, and it just took, and it was just like a big burst of light, and I was set free. And then I had to go on into the next room. And may I not downplay that, like when I was holding myself, my hurt self. And if you can do this on your own, you can have this. This is what got me here, is having to deal with these things so that I can ask the questions, so that I can deal with the questions. And so then my next phase, I went into another room, and it was just this immaculate throne room. And I had my Incredible Hulk sitting there, and he had a VR headset and all sorts of hoses and wires sticking out of him. And I was just blasting him full of drugs. And in his visor, it was like Rampage. And he was just in there just destroying stuff, just being as happy as he could be. But he wasn't doing that in my life. And so I went over there, and I unhooked him from everything, and I loved him, and I apologized, and I dealt with that hard side of me, that darkness, that demon, what I've created through my pain and through my conditioning. And then again, a hand came down, and it was like a big burst of light, and I was set free. And so those two, all in one, just for all this, just from meditation. That's how the answers come, is when you are able to hush, just for a moment. Then you will be able, your eyes will start to open. Your ears will start to hear. Your heart will start to hear and see. And so that's my spiel, Brody. That's what I went through to get here. That's what I've done to really monitor myself, be very aware of my thoughts and how I'm talking to myself, and just to be very conscious and to soothe and soothe and soothe and wipe away the tears so that the clarity can come.
It's beautiful, brother. I was having just very similar, when you kept bringing up that inner child, I was just like, we need to do an inner child meditation with anyone that hasn't had that experience, hasn't had that ability to release and cleanse, or never had that conversation with their inner child. could be a very transformational moment when you get to have that experience. And sometimes just through talking like this, they're like, oh, that's interesting. You know, maybe even through this talking, you've had this experience now, and being like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. But I think even having some time to sit down, and we could even organize that in a guided meditation. But essentially it was done through me basically at a retreat, at an NLP retreat, where I sat down and we did this huge group guided meditation, and we got sent to this almost like this huge mansion, and I got to go into certain rooms and through a deep meditation and visit certain types of people and ask them certain types of questions and have these types of deep conversations. And what I realized is I like Jeremy says, I'd been pushing this inner child away for so long, thinking like, oh, life's happening, all this is happening, inner child, like I'll take care of you once everything is fixed, type of thing like that. When really it's like this whole rat race thing where you're running away, not realizing that there's this cleansing, this almost key, this lock, that if you just took the time to wait and notice that there's something sitting there literally crying, hurting and screaming just for your love. And that's all it really wants in the end, is for you to turn around and be like, oh crap, like, you know, be like, this is my child, this is me. I've been doing all this damage unknowingly, but now knowing, I'm like, it's this huge, and that's where I put the lines from Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. You know, amen. I was once lost, but now I was found, was blind, but now I see. You now see that the hurt, and if you guys know the backstory of Amazing Grace, it's really interesting, because the guy that created that, he was a slave owner, and that's where it's like, saved a wretch like me. And even what the interesting thing is, I just read this recently, so this is kind of like, I've been tuning into the source, so it comes and it brings me what I need to say at this moment. So this is what maybe is going to be really powerful for some people. That story was shared, and he was still in the moment of, he ended up being an evangelist or whatever, Christian, and sharing God's word and going around. And yet you would think that he would have this big revelation and he wouldn't be a slave trader anymore, right? But he was still he was a Christian in his own right and doing great things. But one of the sins that he didn't still yet see at that time and place was slavery, you know? So you got to wake up from the things that you might be blind to still at this very moment, you know? And like, if you read into the story, it's actually really, really incredible how someone can still be very, very connected, or think very, very connected, very, very aligned, and still have to remove or still have to see, and they're still blind to a few other things. And sometimes that connection, that conversation with the inner child is what someone's been blind to for a very long time. So having that gift, being able to go and do that with one of us, you know, with yourself in a deep meditation, just go through the energy doors, go find your higher self and ask them, you know, can we go check out my inner child? Can we go see where he's at? What's happening with him? And they'll take you to there. You'll go exactly where it is. And then you can have a conversation. You can see, it'll tell you how it's feeling. It'll tell you how it wants to feel. It'll be so happy that you're there now listening, because that's all it's, sometimes these signs, I believe now, this is from my personal truth, some of this illness, some of this disease, some of this stuff, it's from our higher parts calling out to us, trying to give us a sign. And, you know, sometimes like ghosts and certain, like, you know, spiritual things like that, they have these interesting ways of communicating with us. They can't, like, you know, some people are very clairvoyant, audiovoyant. Like, I'm not at that thing where I'm like listening to spirits in my head throughout the day. I'll be completely logical with you guys. That's not where I'm at, you know, but there are these certain signs where stuff adds up over a long period of time where you're just like, that is bliss, or that is heavenly, or there's something definitely that's trying to show me something there. And I feel that's, you know, your higher being, your inner child, certain things throughout your life, showing you through pain, sometimes through suffering, that enough is enough. And this is the moment where we love you, but we need to do this together. We need to rise. We need to unify. And through this, we will become this amazing thing. Like, you know, and that's where the free will, the free choice comes into play. You can go down that suffering loop for as long or as hard or as far as you want to go. And that's your right. Like, no one, it's not even my right to go and grab you and drag you back into over here. That's not how this works, right? You have to go and get your fill, and then it has to be your stand. It has to be your decision. We're not going to punish you. We're not going to discipline you. It's going to be the self-discipline, and it's not even discipline. It's the self-love. Yes. Because you love yourself enough, you wouldn't be doing the things that you're doing to others and yourself.
Yeah.
But that's okay because we didn't know that yet. But now that we know better, don't keep, this is where it's like, you can go and choose to do what you'd like. But now with this awareness, you will find the signs will show you that that is not what you want in your reality. And so that's where it's like, choose wisely, be very, very choosing of the higher power, be choosing of great stuff, be good things, because if you start to forget this stuff now, it's almost like you're choosing all for naught. You are choosing the act of not choosing, being, coming in connection with your higher self, choosing these self-love types of practices, choosing to become closer connected with your higher self. I'm not saying that it's the grand all be all best way. What I've experienced is when you don't choose this way, things don't work as well. They just become more frustrating. They become more, it takes longer. Things don't become as enjoyable. And for what reason? I don't know. I don't know what the bigger decider of all that is. I just know that when I tune into these sides of things, my life is happier. My life is more bliss.
Probably it's as simple as, does it feel good or does it feel bad?
Exactly, right? I've chosen to feel good over feeling bad. And I don't need to get into some political right and wrong type of thing over that. Yeah. I think we can all agree that that's the feeling that we're searching for, right?
That's exactly right.
If you want to stand with that type of energy, then you're on our side, if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, that's my share.
That's the flow. That's the flow. That's the difference. Do you want to feel bad? That's going against the grain.
Yeah.
Just in carpentry. I remember in not knowing any better, and I would take the board and I put it in the wrong way, and it bucked and almost killed me. But then I turned the board the other way, and then I put it, and it was just smooth as butter. That's the difference of life, suffering, and an enlightened life. If you just do it right, it works. But it's up to you to go and experience. And this is something that I've been working on and really having to deal with. What if the Creator made us and wanted to explore things more than what it is, and maybe in places that it's not allowed to go due to perfection? And so when it said, let there be light, and it planted our seeds and we were born. And what if, I've been this way. What if I'm always asking what to do and how to be obedient and to keep me from this and to keep me and to protect me and all that? What if for just a moment and in one dimension, I'm missing the point? What if I'm supposed to go down in that dark alley and get stabbed in the neck? What if I'm supposed to go and get murdered? Or what if I'm supposed to go in these dark, deep, horrible places so that when I go, it's re-downloaded? God gets to experience it, but his perfection is not tainted. But then we're also rewarded and blessed for going and being the new leading edge. Now just sit with that. So what if it's not always about being obedient? What if it is sometimes about screwing up and messing up and then being done? And if you can remember back how I dealt with my fears, I had 3 meditations to deal with my fears. And when I was underwater and this came to me, some of my biggest fears, and it came from a movie. I think it was called 47 Meters Deep or something like that. It was the shark movie. But it was actually pretty terrifying to me because in the movie, they're just out, some chicks, they're just out having a good time, and they're on this boat and they're going to go scuba diving and watch sharks, and they're in this cage. Well, it's rickety AF, and it ends up breaking. And they end up going all the way to the bottom of the ocean. And I'm sitting there ow, ow, ow. You just know. You ever been into a pool and you go into 12 feet, your ears and your brain starts exploding? It hurts. Just imagine. Whoosh. So anyway, so they're down there. And they the boat leaves, and then they're trying to go out, and then there's sharks all around. They can't go up because they'll die and get the bends. They can't stay down or they'll die. They can't go out. They'll get eaten by a shark. And so they ended up getting saved, and then it falls again. And so anyways, so my meditation was I had to stay at the bottom of the ocean in a cage. I'm cooked. My goose is cooked. There is no salvation. There is no help. This is what's going to happen. I have to feel this. This is the experience. And so I sat there in darkness and until I ran out, and I come out of that water, I'm like, and so then my second one is like Kill Bill, the movie. And I'm in this box and I'm sitting there buried alive trying to get out. I'm not getting out. I had to deal with that. And then the third one was I was in a cave, deep down on my stomach, and then I had like a cave in and I was stuck. I'm done. I'm going to die. And so those were the meditations that I've practiced for many years to not have fear, so that I can have control, so that I can have serenity, so that I can begin to love and have that self-love, so that I can have the alignment, so that I can get into the divine guidance, so that I can, step 7, have the bliss. You see how all of this, these frameworks, it helps you, put you on a spiritual, metaphorical map. Hey, I'm still here. Hey, I'm right there. This is how I'm feeling. So this is why it's so universal. This is how we can help and show you where you're at so that you can have these different meditations, these different frameworks, and so that you can actually get through. You can deal with your inner child and your anger or your sadness and your depression. You can get over your fear. We're not only balancing you by each step in chakra and energy wise, we're not only teaching you and helping you with perspectives. This is like a trifecta. You're actually going and you're doing it and you're applying it. And so all three of these forms coming together, the teaching, the energy balance, and then the application. Then you have a framework. And so that's how you can always be on track. This is how, when you can navigate better, it's easier for you to go and be everything that you want without fear. That's what this is all about. See, and just real quick, to get to your higher self, and we've been practicing this for a long time, is going, you see the field, and you're going through the energy doors. The field's going to look different. The energy doors are going to look different for everybody. But the fact of the matter is, there are energy doors. Okay, that's how it keeps you in line. Okay, then you're going through the energy doors and it's relieving and removing all that you're not. And then you're flying. And just like I told you, what took me so long in this step is because I was flying all over the place. Inner and outer space, etc. But when I finally just started going up, then I hit the floor of heaven, basically. And so I saw this doorknob, and as I opened it, and see, this is what we've been practicing. And here's the new for you right here in this red hot minute, is when you start opening up that doorknob, it actually opens for you, and it opens, and then this hand, this arm comes and grabs you and pulls you in. Now, this is the moment that I met my higher self. Everybody that I've taught has met their higher self. Amber just met her higher self by doing this, and she was like this beautiful like warrior with like white, bright leather like armor and this giant sword and just flaming blue hair, and it was just amazing. Mine, when I first met mine, it was this gigantic golden being, and he's like, "Look at us, bro! Look at us! Look how amazing! I love you! Great job for getting here!" And I cried and cried and cried. It was so amazing. And so that's where we're at. So now that you've been flying, you've been going through the energy doors, you've been doing the poses, you've been doing the clearing. Now it's time to get to the freaking nitty gritty. Now it's time for you to turn that doorknob, and it's time to meet your higher self. And see, my higher self has actually changed. When I keep going, and I do this always. Every time I meditate, I clear, I go through the doors, I fly, I meet my higher self, he turns on the light, I see all the ascended masters and all the angels and all the ancestors, and then we all go in, he opens the door, and we go boldly before the throne. That's what this whole process is. And in steps 5, 6, and 7, then we'll be getting in front of the Creator, and we'll be scooching, and then it'll be like a blazing fire of perfection, and we just can't handle it, and we scoot back, and then we scoot forward, and then we scoot back. And then that's how you get filled. That's how you have the connection, spirit, mind, and body. This is the whole shebang in a nutshell. Woo!
That's incredible, brother. And this is the thing where there's people on all different walks and all different points throughout the 7 steps, but we're all doing this together. And it's just this beautiful process where, for me, it took for me to actually put it into the step format rather than just listening and being around in people's presence. Maybe it was because of visual, audio, or whatever it was. That's what created and made things a lot simpler for me and gave me, just a bit more of a path on like, okay, so what can I focus on today? Okay, this is what I focus on. Cool. That's the type of person I am right now, and just freaking bang, bang, this is what I do, and it's helped me. And then what ends up happening is you formulate a bit of your own routine and structure, and all this newness comes in. It becomes your unique process. But for the beginning, it's nice to have a stronger foundation, basically someone showing you the way of how this works. And so I designed this for everyone, and it comes from an enlightenment of a mentor of mine, a founding father, Benjamin Franklin, that he was just an amazing individual that came up with so many different practices throughout his life and all these different inventions and different stuff. And as I was reading his book, I found a portion of his book where he went through these 13 different virtues that he wanted to basically master. He wanted to become like monk discipline with these different types of virtues. And they had different types of qualities that he learned from different types of religions or different types of practices and cultures. And that on its own, the 13 virtues, learning that and practicing that is really amazing. But I took some of the components of that and basically applied it to the 7-step process that we're diving through, which I believe is just a very more simplified process of becoming this very enlightened, very powerful being that's full of creativity to do all the same types of things. So I'm going to show it to you on my screen now. I'm going to bring it up. Essentially, it's the 7 steps. It's the spiritual push-ups. It's an accountability worksheet. And through this process, you'll be able to figure out what you need to put more focus on. And hopefully, if you don't know exactly where you are at on the steps, you can move through this process and kind of check off the boxes, so to speak, and be like, okay, move through that. I'm going through that. And so everyone, we can all be kind of on the same page when it comes to like, oh, so, what are you working on, or where are you at? It's not really, I don't really, it doesn't matter who's on what stage or how fast people are moving it through. But if you are passionate and motivated about moving through this quickly, this is what I'm finding is the best way to keep yourself on track and to move through these steps very quickly. So that's the introduction here. And essentially what happens is, this is the best way to explain it. So each day, this is your regular week, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you go through the week. And if you try and do everything, all the 7 steps all at once, for one, they're all prerequisites. So you can't move through and find all the discoveries that you'll find in step 2 if you haven't finished and completed all the stuff that pertains in step 1. It's all prerequisite, right? And that's because you're opening up those energetic layers, those energetic doors, almost the energetic points in your body. When you move those up throughout your body, that's the steps, almost the energy moving up through you. And things releasing. So we start from the beginning and build our foundation. So the first step is suffering, and so you move through the first week, and the thing that you're looking for, you're noticing is, am I becoming angry with people? Am I getting into confrontations, whether they be physically, verbally? Did I make someone feel lesser than? And it's totally okay if you're at a moment where that's happening lots. The first step is just to become aware of that. You don't even need to change yourself all in one day with this. It's just really the first huge transformational step is you being aware of it. And once you're aware of it, that's like the first step of the healing process. It's really not going to leave you. It's probably going to continue to be like, that's the thing that you're now focusing on now. And with that awareness, next time it comes up, you're going to have the ability to make a decision, right? And that's where we teach the first 5 steps. And essentially I can break it down into a smaller thing. You have something happen in your life, you let it come in. Do you want it? Fully accept it. That'd be something that's really good in your life. Oh, that's an amazing thing. Do I want it? Yes, it's fully receive that. It's an amazing happening. Don't need it? Just shine your light on it. Shine your love on it. Forgive it for happening, for coming up again in your life, the ho'oponopono, and give it back to love. You know, that's not the thing that we're going to be focusing on going forward. Love it, forgive it, try and understand of why it's coming back into your life. You don't need to focus a bunch into it. Just shine it with love. And then basically you're just monitoring yourself as you go through the week. Sunday, did I have a good day? Basically, what good did I make of today? You know, did I do good work today, in a sense of, did I not get angry at anyone? Did I just stay in my peace? Did I stay in the presence? If that was so, if I didn't get angry at anyone, like physically, emotionally, vibrationally, verbally, whatever way, I didn't get into a confrontation, then that's great. Then you don't have to put any marker on that. But if there is something that came up that you figured it was like, man, I didn't feel like I really completed that step to its entirety, right? I had a confrontation, there was something that happened. You just put a tiny check mark beside there. And what you want to essentially keep going on is you want to have a week where you don't have any check marks, you know, or don't have any faults, I'm going to call them, because that's what they are. It's you tuning back into that vibration and you owning that vibration again and being like, no, this is who I am. And you don't have to do that every time, right? It's our choice. And through this, you'll find that more of those opportunities will come up, and those will be your opportunity to choose, do I want to love this, or do I want to choose those same things that I always keep doing, you know, whether it be hatred or indifference or jealousy or whatever the vibration might be. No, you choose to love it, you choose to forgive it. And what you'll notice is those happenings will start to become far and fewer. And you'll start having quote unquote perfect weeks where you don't have any checks in there, right? And it's a blissful feeling to know that you're making progress. And that's what you'll tune into. You'll be like, yes, this feels really good. I had this week, I had no confrontations. That wasn't in my experience. That wasn't my reality. If you start to do that for 2 weeks, you can successfully sit and know that you've built a habit of not getting into confrontations, of not energetically throwing out that vibration to people just out willy-nilly, like, you know, because that's how some of this stuff is. It's through triggers, and we just do it unconsciously. But if we can start to become conscious of this, we can start to form new habits like this, you guys. And this is what this will help you do. So do that for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, no confrontations, just very, very aligned, working on your meditations, working on yourself, not really being too opinionated of other people's process, just working on yourself for a moment. That's all you're doing on that first couple weeks. Then once you've mastered that, you move into surrender. And surrendering is, are you worrying about anything throughout that week? Anyone human, anyone happening from the future or the past, whether it be you or someone else, are you worrying about that? Release yourself, surrender that, let go of that. Everything is fine. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's working out perfectly for you. There's no need to spend energy on that worrying reality of it. You know, Mark Twain has an awesome quote. I worried about a lot of things in my life. Most of them never came true. So it's just simply like, there's no point in spending all this energy on something that we don't even know what the outcome might be of it anyways. And more importantly, if we are going to spend energy on it, let's spend positive energy, but let's just hold a moment. Let's just not put energy into it. You know, let's just surrender, let go, and get on with something we enjoy doing much more, something we love. And so that's where it's like, you don't even need to worry about, always constantly doing something you love all the time. Really, you just need to be aware of, did I worry about anything? Okay, no, I didn't. Perfect. That was great. Did I? Okay, let's bring some awareness into that. Why was I worrying about that? What was really the interesting thing of that? Is it because, it's because I believed that I thought I would never figure this out, or that I thought that person actually, you know, for some reason doesn't love me. Well, I know that that's not true. That person does love me. You know, that was just a past thought, a past energy. So you go through that process by being aware of it, right? But without the awareness, with being very unconscious to this, we're just being almost like robots, just very automatic in our actions. So again, this is gonna be a process that does take a little bit, you know, over a course of time, but you're only working on one thing at a time. Hopefully that's clear now. By an inch, it's a cinch. By the mile, it's a pile. And so we're going to do this in a chunk one thing at a time. That's all we're focused. We're really not focusing on anything. It's the lack of focusing on stuff. That's what's really powerful about this too. Step one, we're just not focusing on being angry all the time, right? Trying to find some moments where we can forgive some people. You know, just forgive that crazy aunt, forgive your spouse, forgive your child, forgive the road rage, forgive traffic, forgive the weather for one time. That can be very transformational. Once you do that enough, now all you're doing is you're not focusing on worrying about stuff all the time. That makes life so much easier. Now you can just focus on loving. Now you can just focus on playing guitar. Now you can just focus on doing the stuff that you really enjoy and not focusing on all this worry stuff, right? That's amazing. That's a fun process. Step 3. Now it's, do you think negatively about others, right? And this is pairs with worrying a little bit as well. But is there times when you're actually thinking ill health or ill worry or ill something towards someone? You know, why? What's the point? You know, it's probably from some other programming from the past or just general conversation. Oh, did you see Janet down the road? She blah 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 again or whatever like that. You know, that almost the hen house, the whatever, the peanut gallery type of talk like that goes inside of our head. We all have this happen. Let's just make a choice to not tune into that today, right? Let's tune into thinking of forgiving that person for maybe understanding that we maybe don't know the full story of why they're acting that way. And that's okay. I can forgive them for where they're at right now. It's maybe just the lack of understanding of what I maybe know and they don't know. And that's okay. Like, you know, they forgive them for they know not what they do. And that's the beautifulest mantra you can have for that step, you know. And each of these you're going to form mantras. Each of these you're going to form your own beautiful processes. And I'm going to have these steps laid out so that when you're ready, you can jump into here and you can be like, okay, step 4. Step 4, you know, we went from not thinking negatively about others. Now we're moving to the self-love. What do you think it is now? Not thinking negatively about yourself. Can you do that for an entire week? Can you do that for an entire 2 weeks? I know that sounds crazy to some people, but it's definitely possible. It's just a habit. Our beliefs are nothing more than a habitual thought. We just continually thought and continue to keep thinking. So these habits and these beliefs, as emotionally charged as we might be to them, they are not necessarily ours. It's something we've picked up along the way, you know, and you can put as much ownership or as much, you know, you can plant your stake as much as you want into saying that's who I am and that's how it's always going to be. But truly, honestly, it's not. It's something that is picked up. It may have become your identity, but you can change that stuff so quickly. And it's just very transformative. And that's what this process will do. I'm just going to touch on this alignment. Did you give love to one person today? So now we're moving in from the things of what are you removing, you know, because a lot of the stuff, it's baggage, it's heavy. We want to become lighter. We want to let go of a lot of these things that have been holding us down from moving at the rate we're supposed to be moving at. Fast, loving, high vibrating. And so once we've done all those processes, we're not going to ask you to remove anything else. All we're going to ask you is just become more of who you are. Did you give love to one person today? Do that for 2 weeks, giving love to one person today, knowing that, being aware of that, you're going to be sleeping like a baby. Trust me, it'll be amazing, right? Did you meditate and invite Source into your life today? Do that consistently. I mean, we are hoping that you're doing that consistently throughout these processes, but then finally, when you get the motivation, when it becomes very clear that it's meditation or nothing, and that might not be your motivation right now, that's cool. But eventually it becomes to a moment where you're like, I love this. I'm like excited for my meditations because I know all the bliss and all the amazingness that comes out of it. Actually, everything that I have to be grateful for comes out of that meditation. So if I'm going to have a great day, best start with meditation. You know, you start to get into almost that resilience where it's not a discipline or like where you're forcing yourself. It's I get to, I love to. This is the best thing that I could possibly think of doing at this moment before I go and do anything else. And so you get to that motivational state. And so why not plan that in? If you can get into a 30-day challenge, a 2-week challenge of just getting into straight meditative state before you do anything else, it's going to bring this whole nother newer level of awareness again for you. And finally, with bliss, be grateful for it all, everything. Not one thing that you do not appreciate. And that is a masterful level. We can all agree to be able to sit and be in that peace and that bliss. But what we're saying is it's possible. And what we're saying is we're all going to reach it together. But it's just going to take a little bit of our effort. It's going to take a little bit of us playing around with these 7 steps and knowing that Rome wasn't built all in one day. But it's something amazing, and it's something that lives and stands the test of time. And so let's all put into a little bit of effort for ourselves, for our inner child, for our higher self, for all of us and the greater all of being, because when we all put in that little bit of extra really just for ourselves, we feel really, really good about ourselves. And if we're all just putting in that little bit extra for ourselves and feeling good about ourselves, how do we show up in the entire world together with everybody? We end up showing up in this beautiful, loving, probably very entertaining, probably very vibrant, colorful, amazing dance that we all get to enjoy and perform together. There's not people sitting on the sidelines being like, oh, I wish I could do that. No, everyone knows and is together doing that dance together. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Boom.
So, Brody, I think this would be a good time to maybe show that we've been talking about meditation and answers and what it does. Well, maybe people noticed in the beginning that our divine spark to divine spark was different. And so what I'd like to kind of do is I went and like you said, it's a privilege to get to meditate. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. And so I was under, and I was just doing a deep meditation, and I just could not get enough. I did a several hour underwater meditation that one day, and then the next day, usually it like fills me up but wears me out and gets me good for like a week. I just put it all like just in one big shebang. And I'll be like, man, I'm starting to wear out. I really need to meditate. Oh, I'm giving so much. I'm serving so much. I really got to meditate. I got to get filled back up. And so when I went under the second day, which I've never done before. Usually when I was really bad off, I'd go like every other day, etc. But now that I'm healed, it's like once a week. So anyways, I went under, and I went excessively under. And I was just like sitting there with the Creator, watching it just work and everything. And it gave me a new form of healing, and all in one, a new greeting. Because it says to meet your brothers and sisters, your brethren, with a kiss. Well, that's a little weird nowadays. So I wanted to keep that sentiment, but update it with how we work nowadays. And so what I was taught was the reason why we don't have as much power as we want is because we're not grounded. If you take like a sound system and you take that ground wire off, you have no music. You connect that again, music. Yeah, exactly. And so what does it take to ground? And I was like, well, how do I ground? Well, then all of a sudden my hand, just like you saw in the beginning, went over to my heart generator, which is what we're learning about. This is why we're telling you now, is because you're just now able. And so this alone, just do this and tell me if just 1 second, let me just hush. Just sit there for 1 second. Put your left hand over your heart generator right in the middle and tell me if you don't feel something. Tell me if you don't feel a vibrancy or an electricity, an excitement almost. Is it just me?
It almost feels like peacefulness or calmness too for me. It's like a wash of just like.
Yes, and it's so weird now. So the greeting is like, say I have all this overflow and we're just coming up. And the new is, instead of like meeting with a kiss or a hug or whatever, or cool little handshakes or whatever. So what you do is you connect and you ground, and then you do this, and then it's almost like a small high five. And I just thought that was just really cool, because what that does is it transfers all my extra and healing into you, and vice versa. And so when you have like good friends and you do this a lot, it builds a relationship. And so like on the higher end, what you can do is like when you're really close, like when me and Brody will meet, we'll be like, dude, what's up, brother? And we'll be like, boosh. And it'll clap both on our chest and our hands together. And it feels really weird. It's trust me, find somebody to do this with. It's weird. It's a lot, okay? And so that's our new greeting is, divine spark to divine spark. And now the caveat to that is the healing component is you're now grounded. So now you can take like Thundercats, thunder, thunder, Thundercats, oh! And then you just like, and you just have so much power and so much love. So now when I heal, that's how I heal. The laying on of hands is I'll ground and I'll connect and I'll put my hands on you. And dude, if you could just see my hands, I have Holy Ghost bumps. I have all these blotches, my prana and my chi and everything is just out of the roof. And so that overflow is now our little spiritual kiss. So I just thank you for letting me share that with you. It was just something very special. I'd like to make this a thing. Like when it's almost like a secret handshake for the Serenity Project. It's like, I know you. I know what you're doing. I know what you're about. You're good. You're safe. You're trustworthy. You're amazing. And so now let's go. And so that was just something super special to me after 2 super deep meditations. We got a whole new greeting and a new methodology of true healing.
And it's more for, and like all this opus comes from, like all this, and opus just meaning like the operas or operae, I'm not even, but basically the main core of where this is all coming from is having more instances where we're reminded of love and connection. If we can just program a life where love is just showing up all the time, and it's almost uncanny, even if a person wasn't connected, just even growing up in this world, they understand that this is love and it's a loving place. Because when you grow up in a world where there's lots of violence, hatred, jealousy, greed, it's really hard to understand whether or not this is a world of love or if it's a world of competitiveness, taking, and just doing it all for me and nothing for anyone else. Make sure I hoard all these resources and pack and like a survival mule of some sorts, because one day the world might blow up and then I'm gonna have to. No, like that's not what this is all about. Like all the energy, everything that you need is here and waiting for you. You just need to be connected in belief and knowing and have faith in that. And it shows up. And once we get everyone on the same track with this, it's going to be like Disneyland everywhere, guys. Like it's going to be Disney World or whatever. Maybe that's like a downplay.
Paradise is.
That's what paradise is.
Harmony, unity, love. You know what's so cool about getting to this level is, Brody, I'll never steal from you. I'll even go so far as to say I'll never steal from anybody ever again. So then that makes me trustworthy. And then that helps me to be pure. And then I'm never going to hurt you. I'm never going to fight you or try to physically harm you. And so then that also makes this relationship last and trustworthy. And so and if we can be like that, we're human, then everybody's supposed to be like that.
I just kind of had this too, where it's like a big motivation with people, I think, when they get into like a vibration where they feel that they need to hurt others to protect their own family, right? Like it's like, I'm doing this for my family so that they can survive, so that they can have a living, so that they can have a future going forward. I think, and this is my personal, pouring self-love into yourself so that you overflow and then you can share that with others is the best thing you can do to be protecting our future and creating a future for your loved ones and for your kids and everyone to experience.
Perfectly put. Beautiful, Brody. Perfect. That's exactly correct. Because only hurt people hurt people. That's how easy our job is. But how difficult our job is as well. Because if I'm not hurting, then I'm out giving gifts of grace to those who are hurting. I'm out there breaking cycles. I'm giving people space. I'm defending those who can't. I'm helping the blind not fall. But, then again, on the other side, there's people that will let someone fall. There's people that are causing it. There's people that aren't holding their own and taking care of their own. And they are being selfish. And they are. And they are, and they are, and they are. But then again, they're just playing a role so that you can learn all these things and then you can be the hero. You can pick up the trash. You can be rewarded. You can break the cycle. See, you can't have good guys without bad guys. But then that's only even temporary, because when we're all good guys, then we can actually get something done. We're not sitting here trying to fix stuff that's been broken. We've prevented that from happening. So now we have all that excess money or energy to actually modify and make things better and bigger and more.
Like,
that's the difference.
I don't know about you guys, but if anyone's connected the dots, like once automation is here, and automation might be the death of all humans and everything like that, maybe most likely we'll just absolutely adapt robotic automation into every course of our life, and all the shitty jobs, all the painful jobs, all the things that we don't want to do anymore, we're not going to have to do, you guys. And I know that sounds like a young kidder type of thing, but why wouldn't we strive to create a world where all the
robots do it, and so we can be more passionate?
Yeah, and so we can go out and do entertaining and loving, brighter colors, brighter movies, brighter everything, funner games, funner times, funner connections, more family dinners, more family activities.
Work 40 hours a week at Taco Bell and still not have a damn dime. You know what? It's not working. And so the way to do this without violence is to create a better option. To create better options usurps violence, because all those people that are, say, in the elite and running these things, a lot of them are being forced by blackmail, and that if there was another way and a place to go, they would. And then who is doing anything? See how easy people can you grasp how easy this can be? Oh man. And so that's what this is all about, is the self-love. Now that we're in level 30, it's time to go back and learn and gather up the things that we failed, to get that self-love so that we can let the cork float, so that we can now be in spirit, mind, and body alignment. That's step 5. That's what's coming up, is that spirit, mind, body, and we add a little bit to it. Business, spirit, mind, body, and business alignment. The Spiritualpreneur program will be released, and a lot of you have already seen it, but now you're starting to see where it comes in at. Now that you're able to love yourself, overcome your thoughts and your fears, now you're able to love. Now you're able to do better business. Now you're able to attract who and what you want and where you want, all that. Now you're able to meditate and go straight to source through your higher self. You have all the answers now. This is where, when this is practiced, this equals enlightenment. Can you be happy anyways? Consistently equals enlightenment. And so then you're able to have that alignment. And when you have the spirit, mind, body, and business alignment, then that means everything, all 5 senses and then some, are now opened. And that is the opening of the third eye. That's when you can have the clarity, and that's the divine connection, step 6. And then that, when practiced consistently, that bliss from the divine connection, from the alignment, from the self-love, then that bliss is the same thing as serenity, but on a vibrational level is much higher. And so once you can be in bliss consistently, that is enlightenment mastery. And so once you go all the way back up, and here's the full gamut of the whole system, is once you go through these steps all the way up, you take that crown chakra and that divine guidance, that bliss, and you take it all the way back through everything else. And so once this is open, you take that divinity, and now you can see better. Now you can speak better, and you're more in alignment, and you can see better. And now you can love others better. Then you can love yourself better. Then you can control your emotions better. Then you can live without fear better. That's one revolution. All the way up and then all the way back down is one revolution. That's why we came up with the badges and all the different color steps, okay? And so as you go back up, that's how we can keep an idea of where you're at. Okay, say you're in step 3, well then you're gonna have your badge is yellow. Say you are right here now and you've balanced this, you're going to be green. and then you're going to be baby blue, and then purple. And then you go back down, and then that's, like I said, one full revolution. And then when you start going back up again, see, that is when you have a purple, and then your next step will be red again. See, you have one full completion, and then you're going up and then down again, and then you'll have another purple, then up and down again, and you'll have that triple purple. And I know I'm kind of going off in a tangent here.
If you have watched, or if you played a video game, or some other things have this, where it's called the prestige, where you reach level 100 and now you come back down to 0. But with all this newfound knowledge, you go through the steps again, in a sense.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. That's exactly right. Yeah. And so you can reach that triple purple. And so that is an enlightened master. Most people in step 4, when I reached enlightenment, just my full enlightenment beginning was in step 4. When I finally dealt with myself and I finally began to love myself, that's what put me into alignment with Source. That's what gave me the divine guidance and the clarity. Then that's what I took and went and healed everything with. That was enlightenment. This is what happens in step 4. And for this whole next month, that's why we have the green. And you know, green foods and grounding, meditation, and the word is yam, yam, yam. And that's what we can meditate. The I am love, the gratitude. And you see all this beautiful picture that we've been building to get us up to here. Everything that we do is an energy that is balancing these energies so that it will be balanced, so that it will open up access to the next one. That's what will cause freedom and bliss without dis-ease, sickness, and disease.
Or confusion, because
jumping into clarity.
Yeah, jumping into this step 4 interview or video experience, you know, web class, without any understanding of what this process is and just jumping in would be confusing, right? Or like, quote unquote, on paper, oh, I don't understand these people. Like, that's so weird or whatever. Like, I'm not, you know, like, because people literally, they haven't spent and opened up that energetic level so that they can move into the next. And so with this process, it's so beautiful. And this is why I enjoy teaching it so much, is because we are putting you into almost like a blueprint where you get to open up those in a more natural way of how life and how Mother Nature would open you up, you know, because sometimes we run into stuff online or certain things, or this is how it happened for me. I'd find information that I knew was valuable, but it'd be so above me or so confusing, or I wouldn't receive it well, right? And I'd wonder, why am I not like this is so interesting and so amazing. Like, I kind of don't believe the guy, but I think this is right. You know, everyone's had these moments where you've had certain times. And I believe now is because my energetic level or whatever was not in any mode to receive any of that. You know, so I come in, it just comes in as like, oh, that's confusing, or I don't get it, or whatever it is. Like, literally on an energetic level, I haven't been doing the preparations to even receive that type of energy, to even understand it, for it to even integrate. And that's just kind of like my truth and my way of explaining it. But that's what's really beautiful about this process. So if there's things that you start experiencing where you're like, I've never experienced it this way, it could have a lot to do with how we've been very structurally, you know, foundationally opening up these chakra points for very specific times, for very specific reasons, because it's like a movement coming up from the ground, moving up through the core, into your solar plexus, into your heart, eventually into your throat. And that gives, if anyone's having the ability to speak some of this information, or sometimes when you explain it to other people, like, man, I'm doing this amazing Serenity project, and they'll just look at you and they're just super uncertain of what you're even doing, right? That's what ends up coming with the throat chakra, and you being able to fully describe or explain and describe this to people properly and better, you know, and that comes with the time with building up through those energies. But one thing that's been super foundational and super impactful for me, and hopefully for you guys, is working through these once and for all in an actual step-by-step process. Because before, I was doing some of these things, but in all over different types of places. And so it makes you wobble, so to speak, right? It creates this wobble, so to speak, where you're gaining something good, but you're almost bringing it in to something that's not even prepared for that yet, you know, and you get almost like, and that's what maybe sometimes causes some people to dive into a really good personal development or spiritual book and then, oh my God, my life is crazy now, and certain things like these are maybe things that I can't explain now. But through this process, it definitely keeps people grounded and holds them and keeps them on a very more aligned path with this information. It makes it, and it's helped me a lot to finally solidify it and finally be like, oh my gosh, yes, that is exactly what I need to work on next. And I'm motivated and I'm passionate about doing it now because I understand and I can see these dots connecting now. And it makes sense why I'd want to be putting time into working on that, right? But without the awareness, without the explanation, sometimes you don't have the motivation. So then you just end up, you're like, oh, well, actually, I'd rather go do this right now. There's not enough oomph.
Awareness.
Yeah, Claire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just, you're so scattered. That was how I was, It's like I knew this and this and this and this and this, but I didn't know how to apply it or where to put it within me. I didn't know how to facilitate it, And so that's what this is. Like you said, it's a blueprint. It's a map. It's an update. It's an upgrade. It is a point in time where you can find where you're at, how you're feeling, what you're doing. And so then you're not just like way out here, way out here, way out here. You can see it. And then I'm telling you, if I could have had a systematic information to what I was going through, bro, I'd be 1,000 years in the future. Just with a little bit of help. I never had a dad. I never had role models. Everybody in my life either beat me or treated me like crap and didn't teach me anything. I had to learn the hard way. Just imagine if someone knew this stuff and was like, hey, this is what you're going through and this is what to expect. This is where you came from, and then this is where you're going. If you keep doing this, this is where you're going. If you do this, this is where you'll go. And if I would have just had any modicum of amount of direction, my life would have not sucked near as bad. And so, yes, all those things made me into who I am, but I still believe that we can learn all these things through love and clarity without so much damn blood on our hands. That is why I care so much. I hurt so much that I can't bear to see you go through the things that I did. So God enabled me to say, hey, everybody goes through this. Write this down. And then I did, and here is the 7 steps, and that's why we're here, is you're going through the same thing. Everybody does. There is nothing new under the sun. And so when you're able to have this framework, this is a blessing. This is something that you won't ever be able to take away or get rid of. This is something that you will use in addition to your life for the rest of your eternity. And a lot of you may remember me saying, hey, all this is like a divine perspective. It's like a t-shirt. Here, try it on. If you don't like it, take it off. I've adjusted. This is something else that I've learned. Don't try on my shirt. You have your own t-shirt. Nobody wants to wear my nasty ass shirt or your shirt or anything like. I want my own shirt. I don't care about any of this. I want it my way, like Burger King. So now take what you like that you see on my shirt, the perspectives and the pictures that I paint for you. If you like that and it resonates and it feels good, you add it to your own shirt. Doesn't that feel good? Don't take my shirt. Add what you like from my shirt to your shirt. It's almost like Moana, where the deity had all those different tattoos, you know? Take the ones that you like and incorporate it into your life. That's what it's all about. It's not about this dude named Jeremy and Brody come up with something that could help and here we are. No, it's not about all that. This is a new update and a new upgrade for something that has felt like we've been in the dark for a long time. You know, when is something going to work? When is something going to be provided? When is somebody going to do something? It's when you get to this level where you love so much that it's not about money, it's not about agenda, control, or power. It's a very simple fact that I suffered so bad that I cannot bear to see you do the same thing. So now the things that I've been given to help me out of those hells, I must, as an obligation and a duty and a privilege, to serve you and enable you to know these things. And you put them in your own resonance and in your own perspective so that you can skip all the BS that others had to go through. Mm-hmm. If you watch a movie of people murdering and doing all this, do you necessarily have to go out and do all that to get the experience? Or did you learn enough by watching it? That's the difference. Now, if you must go out and do all that, then that's a whole nother story. You have to go out, do all that, suffer, get your fill, and then we'll meet you up again eventually. Okay? But once you're up here, you're not going to be doing all that nonsense. You're going to know that everybody is your family, an eternal family. And I'm not going to go across this little river, this little ocean, and go kill my extended family for no reason. And then there won't be any war when more people are like that. And then all that trillions of wasted dollars going to that bullshit, then it can go and be put into peace and prosperity and abundance for everybody. If we had $20 trillion and divvied it up with everybody, dude, we'd all be rich AF. But only a couple people get to have it all, and then we get to trickle down all that garbage, and then we get the pigsty at the end. We can keep doing that. That's the hard way. Or we can create better opportunities, and we can make everybody have a better option. And they're like, dude, this sucks. Yeah, come over here and start doing this. This is the old earth. This is the new earth. This is the heavens on earth. That's as simple as that. You can either evolve and shift and cut the shit and start being a blessing instead of being a hindrance and a burden on everybody, or you can keep learning and keep being a hindrance and a burden, and people will love you, and then you'll see that they'll love you and they're putting up with you, and then you're like, man, I don't like it that people just have to put up with me. And then you'll try harder, and you see how just this non-judgment, this unconditional love enables everybody to go where they want to go at their own speed without having everybody up their ass? That feels good. That's harmony. That's unification. That's what we're trying to teach you, is to control your mind so you can control your heart and you have that connection so that you can go and better navigate. Then you can prevent the wars from happening instead of having to rebuild everything. So ask yourself, do you want to rebuild or do you want to prevent it from ever happening? And I know we're getting there on our time, and everybody, thank you so much for spending it with us. May every second that you spend time with us be in the presence, and may you be healed and balanced and blessed and honored and loved and filled. You're not wasting your time just listening to two dudes saying stuff. This is a divine appointment. You were meant to be here. God is focusing on you. It is now time to flip that coin. It's time to get enlightened, and it's time to become masters and have a planet full of masters. And then we take our fingers off the launch buttons, and then we can go play with our brothers and sisters across this galaxy. And then we can be kings and queens over the cosmos in unconditional love. That's where we're trying to get you to. But we don't have to. It's going to happen naturally. And so we're just trying to make it just better, just easier, but without taking away. More orderly and harmonious, so it's not such a shocker and a surprise and have so much suffering. That's basically it. So that's basically it. Thank you all for being here. I love you with all my heart. So what do you want to do now, Brody? I think we done said everything.
That was really beautiful, and I think everyone's gotten their fill for this week for step 4 and everything that they need to take out. And we're going to be doing some more updates. I actually got a really cool gift that I'm going to be releasing to everyone that's going to help them along their way, kind of like a daily reminder just to tune into, again, that self-love again. And so anyone watching this, if you want to get it early, you can reach out to me and you can grab it early. Just say, hey, Brody, I'd like to have the 31-day I am enough challenge. That goes in part with step 4. Can you send that to me if you're listening to this? If not, you'll see the update when we release it on the Llama Space community page.
Excellent.
Again, thank you so much to everyone that's along with this journey. Again, this is a privilege, you guys. It took me a little bit to understand that as well. But yeah, just like Jeremy says, you're not just listening to two crazy guys. This is meant for something a lot bigger than what I ever thought was possible. It started to just really unfold for me, and I started to see the really divine workings of all of this, and how I'm just playing a very special part in something that's very, very much larger than I am. And it's just this beautiful gift and privilege to be a part of that. And hopefully you see that for what it is, and you join us and in this serving and this honor and this privilege to share this with the rest of the world going forward.
Amen. Amen. So just take a moment to just really be grateful. I know things have been hard. I know things have been seemingly impossible. I know that happiness seems like a joke and a tease. It's not. There is another side. There is more than just suffering in this life. It takes this progression. It takes from falling as a child to being able to walk, to getting into trouble and getting spanked as a child and as an adolescent, to getting into trouble as a teenager and messing up in every way possible. But then to finally become an adult and not really mess up so often. See, this is the maturity and the spiritual evolution. This is the progression of humans, that you're not always just Old Testament. You're not always just hellfire and brimstone. That's not how it is, and that's not how it stays. That's how it begins. And if we could just see that divine perspective, it will put everything in order. And then you're like, hey, this is just what happens when you're going against the grain. When you're going out of the flow, this is what happens. It's as simple as that. It's not sin, evil, or any of the other stuff. It's all that, but that's mainly what it is. Going against the grain of source, the will of God. Going against the will of God feels bad. How many different ways do you have to experience that before you knock it off? But you have to, because that's the whole reason why we're here. So it's not about knocking it off. It's about just doing it. And then when you've got it, here's the extra. The Christ said, I came to show you all these things, that you can do all these things and more. Welcome to the and more. We love you. Thank you for being here. This is just now where things turn around. We've went through the 3 bottom animal chakras, the old nature, the old seed. We've now incorporated love, the gap bridger, the bridge of the gap. And so then we now are able to open the top 3 chakras, the top 3 divinity, our new seed, our new nature, the heaven versus the earth, the yin versus the yang. But it's all bridged with the heart generator and the heart chakra, with love. It's all about the love. That's what makes everything work. That's what plugs your toaster in. That's the reconnection. That's the alignment. That's what that's what relieves you from the pinching off. That's what enables you to now start attracting what you want, because you've finally seen all the stuff that you don't want. We can go and tango, and we can go round and round and round, and we can say all the beautiful things to describe what we're trying to tell you. But I feel that it's resonating and that you understand, and that you are being balanced, you are being healed, you are understanding, and you are changing. This is where this one moment is where you're finally just one arm and then one wing is coming out of that cocoon. This is where you start flying out as a butterfly. It's time to release and move past the caterpillar phase. This is time to fly. This is our divinity side. This is what we've all been waiting for, and we don't have to die to wait for it. And what I've learned is it goes awakening, it goes suffering, awakening, enlightenment mastery. That's as far as we can go in our human form. There is more after this. We get our glorified bodies and we'll be interdimensional, perfect in everything of everything, complete likeness of our Creator. That's the whole point. That's the seed progression. But we must be humans now, doing human things, getting this experience. And once we have, then we can move on. That's all. It's not about fear and suffering and bad and darkness and evil. It's about experience and growth and love and finding the way. There's many paths, but they all lead to the way, the truth, and the life. And so, for like the 5th time.
Oh, it's beautiful, bro. Driving home this point is great. And we're gonna continue to share this. We're gonna continue to share and keep loving and keep supporting everyone along their journey, and that's what it's all about. And hopefully you rise to that same understanding and go out and do that for others as well too. And that's our greatest goal with all of this. So
yes,
much love, everyone. Thank you again. It's been beautiful.
Much love.
Have an amazing
God,
month.
you know what's best. Yes, please, and thank you. That's what we ask for. That's what we want. And we say these things humbly, according to thy will, according to the authority of the Christ consciousness and the master soul. Amen. And so it is, and forever shall be. So thank you, Lord, for being with us. Thank you, Brody, for your time. I love you, brother. Thank you for all your hard work. Many blessings to you. Everybody that was here, thank you for joining us. Everybody that will be with us, thank you for being with us. This is Quantum. You know, it doesn't matter if how many's here or there or then or here. All of that is irrelevant. We're doing the work, and the people will come. If you build it, they will come. So
if you build this energy inside of you, if you build the self-love, if you build the enlightenment, everything and everyone will come into your life that you're searching for as well.
Absolutely. So
much love, everyone.
Much love. Many blessings.
Many blessings.
And as always, Namaste.
Namaste.